one got a little hot under the collar.
For decades, that electrifying smile and wild, unpredictable energy basically defined Hollywood greatness. You know the look. That devilish grin, the arch of an eyebrow, the slow, dangerous drawl. He wasn't just an actor. He was a cultural force, a symbol of rebellion wrapped in pure charisma. He is the most nominated male actor in Academy Awards history, a titan of cinema who created characters that don't just live on film, but in our collective memory. He is Randall P. McMurphy, raging against the machine. He is Jake Giddes, lost in the corrupt heart of Chinatown. He is Jack Torrance, consumed by the chilling madness of the Overlook Hotel. He is the Joker, dancing with the devil in the pale moonlight. For half a century, Jack Nicholson was just everywhere, a constant, brilliant, and beautifully chaotic presence in our lives. But now, the man the world knew as Jack has seemingly vanished. The thunderous applause has faded into a deep and unsettling silence. His courtside seat at Lakers games sat empty for long stretches. The red carpets are walked without him. He has retreated behind the gates of his Mulholland Drive compound, sparking a wave of heartbreaking rumors and concerned whispers. As he reached the age of 88, the mystery only deepened, leaving millions asking the same painful question. What happened to Jack Nicholson? Today we're uncovering the tragic reports, the rare glimpses into his private world, and the quiet truth behind why a Hollywood legend has disappeared from the world. This is a story of staggering fame, profound loss, and the quiet, human struggle of a man facing his final act, far from the spotlight that once defined him. Before we can understand the silence, we have to remember the noise. John Joseph Nicholson, born in Neptune City, New Jersey on April 22, 1937, was never going to have a quiet life. His road to stardom wasn't some overnight explosion, but a slow burn through the B-movie machine of old Hollywood. He started out as an office boy for the cartoon department at MGM, just a kid from the Jersey Shore with a restless energy and an ambition that burned hotter than the California sun. His first real role was in a 1958 low-budget flick called The Cry-Baby Killer. It was a forgettable crime thriller, but for Nicholson it was everything. The first step onto the stage he was born to command. For the next decade, he toiled in relative obscurity, working with producer Roger Corman on a string of low-budget films that the mainstream mostly ignored. He wasn't just acting. He was learning his craft in the trenches of independent cinema. He even tried his hand at screenwriting, penning the 1967 psychedelic film, The Trip. He was driven, but that big break just wouldn't come. It started to look like he might be destined for a career behind the camera. And then came Easy Rider in 1969. The role of George Hansen, the boozy, UFO-obsessed lawyer, was a total stroke of luck. The part was meant for another actor who dropped out, and Nicholson stepped in. In just a few short scenes, he didn't just steal the movie. He announced the arrival of a completely new kind of movie star. His monologue about freedom wasn't just dialogue. It was a generational anthem. That performance snagged him his first Academy Award nomination and shot him into the stratosphere. What followed was one of the most incredible runs in movie history. The 1970s belonged to Jack. He defined the anti-hero in 5 easy pieces. 1970, and followed it up with unforgettable performances in Carnal Knowledge, 1971, The Last Detail, 1973, and the masterpiece, Chinatown, 1974. He had this insane ability to play men at war with society and with themselves. He was the rebel, the outsider, the charismatic cynic who spoke a truth you just couldn't ignore. In 1975, he delivered one of the most iconic performances of all time as Randall P. McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. His battle against the tyrannical Nurse Ratched was a primal scream against conformity. The role won him his first Oscar for Best Actor and cemented him as a true screen legend. He could have stopped there, but he was just getting warmed up. The 80s saw him descend into madness in The Shining, 1980, win another Oscar for Terms of Endearment, 1983, and become the definitive Joker in Tim Burton's Batman, 1989. His hot streak continued through the 90s, with his explosive courtroom fury in A Few Good Men, 1992, and his third Oscar for playing the obsessive-compulsive misanthrope in As Good as It Gets, 1997. By the 2000s, with another nomination for About Schmidt, 2002, he'd achieved something remarkable. He was one of only 2 actors ever to be nominated for an Oscar in every decade from the 1960s to the 2000s. His 12 nominations make him the most nominated male actor in Oscar history, a testament to his unmatched talent and longevity. He wasn't just a star, he was the sun that much of Hollywood revolved around. A force of nature like Jack Nicholson doesn't just stop. They burn out, maybe they fade, but they don't just vanish. Yet that's exactly what seemed to happen. The retreat began so gradually that at first nobody really noticed. His last role was in the 2010 romantic comedy, How Do You Know?, a film that came and went without much of a fuss. After a career defined by unforgettable characters, his final bow was a whisper, not a bang. At the time, no one had a clue it would be his last. Big film offers kept coming, but they were turned down. In a 2013 interview, he gave a hint about his thinking, telling The Sun, "I'm not going to work until the day I die. That's not why I started this. I mean, I'm not driven. I was driven, but I don't have to be out there anymore." It sounded like a conscious choice, a man ready to enjoy the life he'd built. For years, his public life was defined by one ritual, sitting courtside at Los Angeles Lakers games. A season ticket holder since the 70s, his face was a permanent fixture in the front row, his reactions part of the show, but then, even those appearances dwindled. After attending a game in October 2021, he wasn't seen publicly for about 18 months. This long silence from one of the most famous faces on the planet created a void, and in that void, the rumor mill started to churn. By early 2023, the whispers had become a roar. Tabloid reports began to paint a grim picture. Anonymous sources described as concerned friends told outlets like Radar they feared he was living a reclusive life, much like his old friend Marlon Brando, who passed away in 2004 after years of isolation. The comparison was chilling. Brando, another giant of his generation, spent his final years hidden from the world. Jack's friends reportedly feared he was going down the same lonely road. "His home is his castle," one source stated, "but people just wish he'd come out of the house and pop up to tell them how he's doing, or at least reassure folks he's okay." The vibrant, social, indomitable Jack Nicholson was, according to these reports, gone. In his place was a man living in quiet solitude. The world began to wonder if it would ever see him again. As 2023 wore on, the narrative around Jack's disappearance took a darker turn. The speculation shifted from a simple desire for privacy to heartbreaking rumors about his health. An unverified insider claim began to spread that the real reason for his retirement was memory loss, alleging that he could no longer remember his lines. It was a devastatingly plausible explanation for his sudden exit from the industry he once dominated. The most alarming reports came from sources claiming to be close to the actor, who painted a picture of a man in a steep mental decline. In January 2023, one source was quoted by Radar as saying, "His mind is gone." The source elaborated, suggesting that while Nicholson was physically fine, his cognitive abilities were failing. This sentiment was echoed in other reports. The Mulholland Drive community is pretty close-knit, and they are all worried about him, another insider claimed. Physically, he is fine, but his mind is gone. It's really sad to see such a super-talented actor, like Jack, go out this way. These anonymous accounts suggested his withdrawal wasn't a choice but a necessity. The story reached a fever pitch in April 2023, when paparazzi snapped the first photos of him in 18 months. He was seen on the balcony of his Beverly Hills home, looking disheveled with messy hair and an orange t-shirt. The images went viral. While many fans argued he was just an elderly man relaxing at home, Others saw the photos as confirmation of the grim reports, fueling the narrative that he was living as a recluse in his multi-acre compound. Friends allegedly feared he would die alone, just like Brando. The narrative was almost too painful to believe, that the brilliant mind behind some of cinema's greatest characters was now fading, leaving the man himself isolated and adrift. While never officially confirmed by Nicholson or his team, the persistence of these rumors created a powerful and tragic portrait of a legend in decline. Jack Nicholson's career gave us some of the most electrifying moments in movie history. If his performances have ever moved you, take a moment to like this video to pay tribute to a true cinematic giant. It helps us continue to celebrate the legacies of these iconic stars. To understand the man behind the myth, you have to look into a life marked by secrets and emotional turmoil. The carefully constructed persona of the freewheeling rebel wasn't just an act, it was forged in a deeply complicated past. In fact, the most shocking chapter of his life sounds like a plot from one of his own dark films. For the first 37 years of his life, Jack Nicholson believed his mother was a woman named Ethel May. He grew up with a woman he knew as his older sister, June. Then, in 1974, at the peak of his fame, a researcher from Time magazine uncovered a seismic family secret. The researcher called Nicholson to fact-check a cover story and shattered his reality. Ethel May, the woman he called mother, was actually his grandmother. And June, the woman he thought was his sister, was his biological mother. It was a heartbreaking story from a different era. June had become pregnant in 1936 at just 18 and unmarried. To shield her from the stigma, her parents agreed to raise Jack as their own. By the time he learned the truth, both Ethel May and June had passed away, leaving him to process this earth-shattering information alone. He later described it as a pretty dramatic event, a shock that cut deep. Can you even imagine discovering your entire identity was a lie? His romantic life was just as tumultuous. Known as one of Hollywood's most notorious bachelors, he was married only once, to actress Sandra Knight, from 1962 to 1968, a union that produced his first child, Jennifer. His most legendary romance was a nearly 17-year on-again, off-again relationship with actress Angelica Houston, which famously ended when he fathered a child with another woman. This pattern of complex relationships resulted in a sprawling family. Jack has 5 publicly acknowledged children: Jennifer, Caleb, Honey, Lorraine, and Ray. A 6th individual, Tessa Gorin, has claimed to be his daughter, though Nicholson has never publicly acknowledged her. He has maintained very close bonds with his younger children, Lorraine and Ray, who have both followed him into the film industry. This lifelong dance between a desire for connection and a fiercely guarded independence offers a crucial window into his psyche, and it may be a key to understanding why in his later years he chose the ultimate form of independence: solitude. As we piece together the puzzle of Jack Nicholson's current life, the picture that emerges is one of profound contradiction. The narrative isn't a simple story of decline, but a complex mix of isolation, health concerns, and surprising moments of vitality. The worries about his health, particularly his cognitive state, remain a persistent theme. The unconfirmed reports of dementia continue to circulate, fueled by those disheveled balcony photos from April 2023. To many, it seemed to be visual proof supporting the heartbreaking rumors that his mind is gone. Friends reportedly remained worried, with some still drawing comparisons to Marlon Brando's lonely end. However, just as the world started to accept this grim story, Jack did something incredible. In late April 2023, just weeks after those concerning photos, he showed up. He appeared courtside at a Los Angeles Lakers playoff game, his first public appearance in nearly 2 years. He was there with his son Ray, smiling and engaging with people like Larry David and LeBron James. The crowd gave him a massive ovation, and he looked happy and healthy, a total contrast to the reclusive figure from the tabloids. He even came back for more games in May. More recently, in February 2025, another surprising twist happened. Jack attended the 50th anniversary special of Saturday Night Live in New York City. seated in the audience with his daughter Lorraine. He looked stylish in his signature sunglasses and even had a small part in the show, introducing his anger management co-star Adam Sandler from his seat. As he left the event, he was photographed using a cane, suggesting some physical frailty, but onlookers said he still looked great and was still the coolest guy in the room. His good friend Danny DeVito gave a welcome update in the summer of 2025, saying simply, "I just saw Jack a couple of weeks ago, and he's great." This leaves us with a deeply human portrait. Jack Nicholson, at 88, is not the one-dimensional recluse the headlines suggest. He is a man grappling with the undeniable frailties of age who has clearly chosen a more private life. There are unconfirmed concerns about his health, but he is also a father deeply loved by his children, a man capable of finding renewed energy, and a legend who can still, on rare occasions, step back into the spotlight and command the world's attention. The story of Jack Nicholson's later years doesn't have a simple ending. It's a story steeped in mystery, sadness, and a profound sense of loss for a talent that burned so brightly it seemed it could never go out. We're left with a mosaic of conflicting images: the disheveled man on the balcony and the smiling icon at the Lakers game, the heartbreaking whispers of a mind in decline and the defiant updates from friends who say, "He's great." The isolation of a Mulholland Drive mansion and the warmth of his children by his side. What has happened to Jack Nicholson at 88 is ultimately what happens to us all. Time has come for even the most defiant rebel. The man who built a career on explosive energy is now living a life defined by quiet and solitude. Whether this retreat is a final act of rebellion against a world that demands constant exposure, or a necessity imposed by the realities of aging, is a truth known only to him. What we know for certain is the huge void he's left behind. Hollywood is a quieter, less dangerous, and far less interesting place without him. He was more than an actor. He was a benchmark for greatness. He showed generations of performers what it meant to be fearless, to find the humanity in monsters and the monster in ordinary men. His legacy isn't just in his 3 Oscars, but in the unforgettable lines etched into our culture and the enduring image of that wolfish grin. Perhaps the most fitting end to his story is the one he seems to have written for himself: a quiet exit, leaving the world to wonder. He has withdrawn from the public gaze, but he can never be erased from our hearts or from the history of cinema. He remains a titan, a legend, and a force of nature. And as we look back on his incredible life, we're left not with sadness, but with a deep respect for the man who gave us everything on screen, and who has now decided in his own way that the rest is for him. Jack Nicholson's filmography is filled with legendary roles. What is your favorite Jack Nicholson performance, the one that has stayed with you through the years? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to read your memories of this incredible actor. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about Hollywood's most iconic figures.